Phew, Dillon Gabriel really thought that was a move? In what can only be described as a masterclass in public self-sabotage, Gabriel, mid-quarterback battle, mid-media frenzy, mid-personal PR crisis, decided to open his mouth and let a petty, passive-aggressive comment fly. And who'd he aim it at? Shedeur freaking Sanders. Let's be honest. If you're going to start throwing shade, maybe don't aim at the son of one of the most iconic, media-savvy athletes to ever breathe. And definitely don't do it while your own highlight reel looks like a deleted scene from a blooper reel. But Gabriel did, and he did it with the unearned confidence of a guy who just watched someone else go viral and couldn't take the heat. So what exactly did he say? If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed. In a media session that should have been all about humility, growth, and trusting the process, Gabriel instead decided to drop a line about how there's a difference between entertainers and competitors. You know, the kind of vague, coded comment that just drips with passive judgment. The context was clear. The target was obvious. And within minutes, it exploded. Enter Stephen A. Smith, a.k.a. the human flamethrower, a.k.a. the man who can eviscerate a professional athlete before the first commercial break even hits. You already knew he was going to say something. But what we didn't know was that he was about to roast Dillon Gabriel into irrelevance on live television. Stephen A. didn't just clap back. He took Gabriel's entire career, laid it out on the table like evidence in a courtroom, and then proceeded to dismantle it piece by piece with receipts. "You're talking about entertainers and competitors?" he started, his voice already in that dangerous tone. You know the one, where his voice drops half an octave and the words get slow and heavy. You're throwing shade at a young man who is both. Shedeur Sanders ain't just commanding attention. He's earning it. Something you, Dillon Gabriel, have yet to do. And from there, flames. Stephen A. brought the heat, the smoke, the fire extinguisher, and a folding chair. He didn't just critique the comment. He interrogated Gabriel's entire existence in the football ecosystem. "Let's talk about who Dillon Gabriel is," Stephen A. said, eyes practically burning into the camera lens. A transfer machine. A guy with all the numbers, but none of the moments. A highlight without a headline. The kind of quarterback who flashes just enough to keep people wondering, but never enough to make them believe. Oof. He went all the way in, laid out how Gabriel had bounced around in college, never quite becoming a guy, always just adjacent to greatness, but never carrying the weight of it. He dragged up stats that looked impressive until you realized they were padded in garbage time. He talked about inconsistency, about pressure, about how Gabriel's big game reputation is more fiction than fact. Then he turned his sights back to Shedeur. Because let's be real, this wasn't just a defense. This was a coronation. Shedeur Sanders is a name, Stephen A. said, eyes wide, hands cut in the air like punctuation marks. He steps onto that field, and you feel it. That's what makes an entertainer. That's what makes a competitor. And Dillon Gabriel? You don't get to throw stones from the basement. Now, let's pause for a second and address the why. Why would Gabriel even say something like that? Simple. It's the oldest story in the book. Envy disguised as insight. Shedeur walks into a room, and people pay attention. Not just because of his name, not just because of his dad, but because he delivers. On the field, on camera, in interviews. The man is built for the spotlight. Gabriel? He's been trying to earn that same shine for years, and it just hasn't happened. So now, watching Shedeur dominate the narrative with grace and swagger, he cracked. One subtle jab that revealed everything. Stephen A. wasn't done. He went full philosopher mode, pulling out analogies, metaphors, comparisons so sharp they could slice an ego in half. Gabriel is out here complaining about media attention like he's allergic to relevance. You think the cameras follow Shedeur because he's doing cartwheels? No, they follow him because he's poised, he's polished, and he plays like someone who belongs on Sundays. That's not entertainment. That's command. And if you can't recognize that, maybe you're the one who doesn't belong. Mic dropped. It was a kind of takedown that wasn't just satisfying. It was cathartic. You could practically hear the collective exhale from sports fans everywhere. Someone finally said what needed to be said. Gabriel wasn't just wrong. He was embarrassingly wrong. And Stephen A. didn't just correct him. He incinerated the whole argument. And let's be clear, the damage was done. Because after that segment aired, the internet did what it always does. Clip after clip of Stephen A. flaming Gabriel went viral. Memes, reaction videos, hot takes. One TikTok had a side-by-side of Shedeur throwing dimes while Stephen A. delivered his monologue like it was halftime of the Super Bowl. Gabriel's name was everywhere, but not for the reason he wanted. And the irony? He handed Shedeur the high ground on a silver platter. What could have been just another media cycle turned into a character reveal, and not in Gabriel's favor. You got one quarterback who takes the hits, stays quiet, puts his head down, and lets his game talk. And you got another quarterback tossing verbal grenades from the sideline, hoping someone notices. Spoiler, we noticed, just not in the way he hoped. And Shedeur, he didn't need to say a word, didn't tweet, didn't clap back, didn't quote retweet with a side-eye emoji. Nothing, because when you're already winning, silence is louder than any comeback. That's what makes him different. That's what makes him dangerous. Stephen A. wrapped it up with a final zinger, one for the books. Dillon Gabriel is out here trying to throw shade at someone who already lives in the sun. And baby, if you can't take the heat, maybe football isn't the kitchen you belong in. Boom. End scene. The verdict was clear. Gabriel tried to manufacture drama, and all he did was hand Stephen A. flamethrower and paint a target on his own reputation. What started as a snide comment turned into a cautionary tale. One sentence. One moment. That's all it took. And the legacy? Shedeur comes out of this even stronger. Untouched. Respected. Feared, even. Because when even your haters end up building your brand, that's when you know you've crossed into icon status. Meanwhile, Gabriel's now got a brand new title. First Team All Resentment. Congrats. Let this be a lesson. In the age of viral moments and instant clapbacks, know your role before you speak. Because the sports world, it's not just watching, it's waiting. And Stephen A. Smith, he's always ready. Oh, you really want to stay in this fire? Good. Because we're not cooling off yet. What just happened between Dillon Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders, and Stephen A. Smith wasn't just a moment. It was a media earthquake. The aftershocks? Still rumbling. And if you think we've already seen the fallout, baby, we're just in Act 2. Let's dig a little deeper into what Gabriel's real mistake was. It wasn't just a disrespect. It was a timing. The absolute lack of self-awareness. This is the moment where you're supposed to be fighting for your career, for your spot, for some semblance of respect in a league that eats rookies alive. And instead, you pick a fight with the one guy who doesn't need to fight back because he's already light years ahead of you in both performance and perception. Gabriel thought he was making a statement. And he did, just not the one he intended. What he wanted was relevance. What he got? A public identity crisis. Because the second you call out someone like Shedeur Sanders, you better have something real to back it up. Not hopes, not vibes, results. And Gabriel doesn't have that right now. Not in college, not in preseason, not in any meaningful way. His whole resume is built on almost and if onlys. You know what the league does with that? They put on the clipboard and hand you a baseball cap. Meanwhile, Shedeur's out here with fewer snaps, more highlights, and a fan base that's treating him like Cleveland royalty before the man's even played a regular season game. Let me ask you this. What's the one thing you don't do when you're still trying to find your footing? You don't punch up. And Gabriel didn't just punch up. He tried to take a swipe at a media darling, a generational talent, and the son of Coach Prime all in one breath. That's like trying to throw shade at Beyoncé at the Grammys while tripping over your own acceptance speech. It's tragic, it's doomed, and it's televised. But that's where Stephen A. comes in. See, this wasn't just about football anymore. This was about legacy, tone, and ego. And when Stephen A. Smith smells ego from an improving name, oh, he lives for that. Because let's not forget, this is a man who's built a career on dissecting delusion. And Dillon Gabriel handed him a 4-course meal of misplaced confidence, salty entitlement, and a kind of athlete insecurity that begs to be flame-grilled on national TV. So what does Stephen A. do? He pulls out the verbal skillet, oils it with a little theatrical flair, and goes to work. He wasn't just criticizing Gabriel's words. He was pulling back the curtain on an entire mentality. A mentality that says, if I can't outplay you, maybe I can outtalk you. A mentality that's insecure in a locker room, bitter in the press room, and ineffective on the field. And that, friends, is a losing recipe. Because in today's NFL, where image matters almost as much as stats, you can't afford to come off like a hater, especially when the guy you're hating on is literally doing everything right. Let's not sugarcoat this. Shedeur Sanders has been flawless so far. Poise in interviews, crisp in games, never overhyped, never overstepping. And the man's got the pressure of being Deion's son hanging over his head every single day. Yet he handles it like it's just part of the uniform. You don't come for someone like that unless you're ready to take the smoke. And Gabriel wasn't even ready for the simmer. You want another layer of irony? Shedeur probably wasn't even thinking about Gabriel. He's out here planning his rookie campaign, mastering the playbook, maybe sending a quick text to Dad after practice. Meanwhile, Gabriel's stewing in jealousy and trying to drop one-liners that land like a third-string tight end on special teams. Barely noticed and mostly unnecessary. And now he's learning the hard way. In the NFL ecosystem, clout comes at a cost. You can't fake charisma. You can't manufacture leadership. And you definitely can't slander your way to relevance. Stephen A. made that very clear. That rant wasn't just for Gabriel. It was a PSA for every athlete who thinks they can skip the work and still get the shine. You want to criticize a quarterback who's putting in the work, delivering on the field, and keeping his mouth shut? Stephen A. barked. Maybe look in the mirror and ask yourself why you're the one looking for headlines. That wasn't just a take. That was an obituary for Gabriel's public standing. And let's be real, it's going to stick. Stephen A. doesn't just roast you and move on. He plants flags. He makes moments. He creates narratives. You think this is the last time Dillon Gabriel is going to be associated with that rant? Not a chance. It's going to live in highlight reels, hot take compilations, and Twitter threads for years. And all of it avoidable. All he had to do was keep his mouth shut, focus on the game, and earn the spotlight. But instead, he gave us a scandal. And not even a good one. A petty one. The kind of scandal that doesn't make you infamous. It just makes you forgettable. Meanwhile, Shedeur? Oh, he's thriving. You know what this entire saga did for him? It strengthened his brand. Because now, even people who don't watch the Browns or care about preseason drama know exactly who Shedeur Sanders is. Not because he clapped back, not because he tweeted, but because someone tried to knock him and couldn't even make a dent. It's poetic in a way. One quarterback tried to tear down another to climb higher, and in doing so, only buried himself. And now Shedeur rises higher, not just because of his own play, but because the league sees who he is even when he's not playing. That's called magnetism. That's called inevitability. That's called franchise energy. So, where does that leave Dillon Gabriel now? Honestly, on the outside looking in, he's going to spend the rest of this preseason doing damage control, trying to prove he can rise above the moment, trying to show he's more than the bitterness that boiled over. But in a league that moves as fast, your second impression better be flawless, because you've already burned the first one. And Shedeur, he's going to keep doing what he's been doing, throwing dots, leading with grace, letting the media storm swirl around him while he stays unmoved at the center. Because when your game is strong, your name carries itself. And when you're really that guy, even your critics end up building your legacy. So tell me, was this Gabriel's last stand? Or just a bump in the road? And more importantly, did Stephen A. just speak what everyone was thinking? Sound off in the comments, because you know we've got more of this chaos coming. Hit that subscribe, keep it locked, and remember, one bad quote can haunt a career, but one cool head, that's how legends are made. Oh, you want more? Buckle up, because we're not even halfway through this flame grill football fiasco. Dillon Gabriel didn't just catch a stray from Stephen A. He walked directly into a rhetorical buzzsaw and dared to turn on. And now, the fallout is glorious. See, once Stephen A. laid down the verbal napalm, it didn't stop at the ESPN set. That was just the spark. The real fire came after, when the sports world decided it was open season on Gabriel's entire career arc. You could practically hear the tweets being typed. People started pulling receipts. Old clips, college highlights that aged like milk. That awkward moment when Gabriel transferred again mid-college? Oh, we're revisiting it. That bowl game where he flinched under pressure? It's back in circulation. One clip even resurfaced of a sideline mic-up where a teammate told him to relax and just throw it straight. Brutal. And in contrast, Shedeur Sanders is glowing like he just walked through a high-budget Nike ad. He's out there giving calm, mature interviews, shaking hands with legends, mentoring younger players. The camera loves him. Fans adore him. Even his walk from the tunnel has more command than some quarterbacks' post-game speeches. You know what this reminds me of? That moment in every teen movie when the jealous rival tries to sabotage the cool kid, and somehow the plan backfires so hard it ends up making the cool kid even more popular. That's exactly what happened here. Gabriel tried to take a shot, and instead, he ended up giving Shedeur a reputation glow-up. And Shedeur still hasn't said a word. Now that's a power move. That's how you know he's different. When someone slanders you publicly and your response is nothing but continued excellence, that's the kind of discipline that rattles your enemies. Gabriel came with petty, Shedeur came with poise. And the Browns front office? Oh, they're watching all this unfold in real time. What started as a quarterback competition is now a straight-up culture referendum. Do you lean into the quarterback who brings maturity, class, and clear talent? Or the one who's showing signs of emotional instability under pressure? Stephen A. didn't just call out Gabriel. He exposed the cracks. And now, the decision-makers have to ask, is this who we want leading our locker room? Because say what you want about Shedeur, he gets it. He knows what this job is. It's not just about arm strength or play calling. It's narrative. It's leadership. It's knowing that the way you carry yourself off the field matters just as much as what you do on it. Maybe more. And this isn't new for Shedeur. Let's not forget, he's been raised in the spotlight. Son of primetime himself. That media attention, that scrutiny, that constant magnifying glass, it's not pressure for him, it's home turf. Gabriel, on the other hand, just had his first real brush with national media blowback. And he folded like a lawn chair in a hurricane. And look, you can argue that Gabriel didn't mean it like that. That maybe he was just venting, that he didn't explicitly say Shedeur's name. Sure, but the subtext was screaming. And in this league, subtext might as well be a press release. There's no room for oops when the cameras are rolling and everyone's looking for a storyline. And boy, did Gabriel just write himself into the wrong one. You know what the players are saying behind closed doors? That Gabriel's comment was a sign, not just of jealousy, but of insecurity. You don't throw shade at a teammate unless you feel like your spot is slipping. And Gabriel knows, he feels it, that Sanders is on the rise. Every clean pocket, every laser-precise throw, every clap from the sidelines after a touchdown, it's pushing Gabriel further into the background. And now, after that comment and the Stephen A. takedown that followed, he's not just in the background, he's a cautionary tale. People are going to use this moment in media training seminars. Example A, how to tag your image in one sentence. The only thing missing was a microphone drop and dramatic music. Actually, no, wait. Some fan did edit that into a TikTok already. And the worst part? This wasn't even a necessary feud. Shedeur didn't provoke it. He wasn't out here trash-talking. He wasn't making side-eyed comments. He was minding his business, playing ball, and letting his game do the talking. Gabriel started this, and now he's drowning in the consequences. Stephen A. hit it best when he said, when you have to talk about your toughness, your focus, your grind, it means you're already losing the war. Because real competitors don't broadcast. They ball. Chills. It's giving you versus a guy she told you not to worry about. Except this time, the guy she told you not to worry about just made the Pro Bowl while you're throwing tantrums in post-practice interviews. And now the internet has taken over. Twitter threads are dissecting the psychology behind Gabriel's meltdown. Reddit has already dubbed him Jealous QB1. Even former players are chiming in, posting vague quotes like, "Let your game speak, young fella. Humility is free." Translation: sit down and know your place. Meanwhile, Shedeur, he's already looking like the future of the franchise. The guy who's built for the moment and wise enough to stay above the noise. That's the difference. One guy is trying to be the headline. The other guy is the headline. And maybe that's what Gabriel couldn't handle. Maybe he saw it coming. The shift, the whispers, the reps in practice going more Shedeur's way. The receivers making that extra effort when he's under center. The fans cheering louder for QB2 than QB1. Maybe he felt that loss of control and snapped. And maybe, just maybe, Stephen A. wasn't just defending Shedeur. Maybe he was doing Gabriel a favor. A wake-up call. A big, flaming red flag wrapped in sound bites and broadcast of millions. Because if Gabriel can't handle a little competition without throwing public shade, he's not ready. Not for Cleveland. Not for this league. Not for prime time. Pun intended. So what happens next? That's the million-dollar question. Does Gabriel apologize? Own it? Backpedal? Or double down and make this even worse? Or does the Browns organization step in and finally say what everyone's thinking? It's time. It's been time. The real QB1 isn't hiding anymore. He's already leading, already winning, already shining. Shedeur Sanders is everything this franchise has been desperate for, and more. So go ahead, Cleveland. Make it official. And for Gabriel, let this be the lesson. Keep your head down. Let your game speak. And if your first instinct when you're feeling threatened is to throw a jab, make sure you're not standing in front of Stephen A. Smith's flamethrower. Because once that man starts, there's no turning back. So, how would you handle it if you were Gabriel right now? Would you apologize? Would you try to spin it? Or do you ride it out and pray the internet forgets? Spoiler, the internet never forgets. Drop your take in the comments. And if you love watching NFL drama burn hotter than game day tailgate grills, hit that subscribe. Because the saga, it's far from over. And the next headline might just be the one that seals Shedeur's legacy and erases Gabriel for good.